7:05, Monday, November 4th. Monday, November 4th at 7:05. This is a regular meeting for the City Council for the City of Woodland. Sorry for the delay. We had some technical difficulties there for a moment. If I could please get everyone to silence your cell phones and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mrs. Ripp, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Plaza?
Here.
Councilmember Brown?
Here.
Councilmember Fredericks?
Here.
Councilmember Hubbard?
Here.
Councilmember Chapman?
Here.
Councilmember Ryan?
Here.
Councilmember Smith?
Here. All right, all are present and accounted for. This evening we have a presentation with the Cowlitz Economic Development Council, or better known as the CEDC. So I will have you step forward at this time, and 10 minutes enough time for a presentation this evening?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Looks like you've given us some slides here for a printout.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, go ahead and introduce yourself.
You can feel free to make your notes on those pages as well. I'm Ted Sprague. I'm the president of the Cowlitz Economic Development Council, and I want to thank you all for having me here tonight. I really do appreciate the time, and if there's some things that we talk about tonight that you don't feel like you got enough information on, I am always available for early morning coffee, late night dinner, whatever. So, feel free to be in touch with me. So, I just have a few slides for you. I've been around so long that I always just kind of assume that everybody knows what the EDC is. So I'm just going to give you just a little bit of information there. We were established in 1979. The first EDC in the state of Washington was established in 1969 in King County. And there's a really good reason why EDCs were created by the state of Washington. And the number one reason, I think, is for confidentiality. The clients that I work with and the companies that I work with, 99% of the time would rather not have their story in the paper, especially if it's a retention or an expansion program that we're working on locally. And so confidentiality is key. I've been in the business for 19 years here, but prior to that I was in Chehalis at the Lewis County EDC, and I learned my lesson early on in about 1997 when we had a project that we were working on, and I was sharing the project at a board meeting, and one of the board members went to the newspaper. And that became front headline in the Chronicle in Chehalis. And next thing you know, all my friends and colleagues at other EDCs started calling that company, and they ended up going to Grays Harbor and not to Lewis County. So I am very cautious in the information I share, especially in a public forum, but I brought some examples of work with me tonight just to kind of give you a flavor. Also, I have two board members in the room. Jennifer Keene from the Port of Woodland is on my board, as is Bernie Skockheld from Columbia River Carbonates, and Bernie's going to come up and share a couple things with you in a minute. So like I said, in 19 years in Cowlitz County, we've recruited over $1 billion, either in recruitment, retention, or expansion. Now, of course, take that with a grain of salt. We don't own any buildings. We don't own any land. And I'm not out there creating the jobs. This is private sector and public sector coming together at the ports or at privately held industrial properties and buildings and choosing to locate here. I know that there are some EDCs in the state that take credit for if a Wendy's moves into the community. That's not the way I count my numbers. If we didn't have significant work with the company, we don't count it in our numbers. And so there's some projects that maybe another EDC might take credit for. We're not going to do that. Our annual budget, this was asked of me in an email, is approximately $370,000 a year, and that's mostly goes to staff salary and some other things. We do have private and public sector dues, and then we have several competitive grants and contracts that we go after annually, and we've been very successful with that lately. But I think what prompted this meeting was that we finally have some rhyme or reason, I think, to our public sector dues. So when I came here in 2000, and you can see from 2000 to 2019, 19 years, we have not raised dues on the public sector. The Port of Kalama was at $15,000. They voluntarily came to me a few years ago and said, we use way too much of our time, we're going to start paying you $20. So I took that. But really, this is my downfall, this side of the job, is trying to go out and fundraise and make money for the EDC. We've always done very well. We've never struggled, but some on the board this past spring said, you know, you got to come up with some rhyme or reason for this public funding model. So we did some research, and we got together an ad hoc committee of the board of directors, and based on what other EDCs around the state do for similar sized communities, we felt this is what made the most sense for us. And so, as you can see, several of the public sector groups, they're not even changing. They're just going to remain the same. But some did move, and so the city of Woodland obviously is one of our big movers from 2 to 5,000. But that's, you know, after no increase for 19 years. So we felt, or the committee felt, that that was a fine thing to ask for. And then, like I said, we also have private sector members, so companies in Woodland that are members of the EDC, companies from all over Cowlitz County, and that's determined by employees. So, you know, the big guys like West Rock and NORPAC and those larger companies, they're paying almost what the city would be paying going forward, and then all the way down to even retired individuals. We do have some retired folks that just want to be a part of the EDC, get the newsletter and that sort of thing. And so that's how we worked out. We do financial institutions, that's your banks and credit unions. Some are, you know, some are small community banks and some are much larger. So we just charge a flat rate for all the banks and credit unions that belong to our organization. So obviously the goals and mission of the EDC is, the main thrust of what we do is to try to recruit, retain, and expand companies in Cowlitz County. So just a few examples of some of the projects that we've worked on in the past few years. Our main recruitment piece is actually, we outsource that to a company called Site Location Partnership. They travel to 6 trade shows every year across the United States, and we used to do that on our own, but that gets very expensive with travel and meals and hotel, and so we found this group, and they're averaging nearly 200 leads for us a year, so we feel like we're getting some really good bang for our buck. It's a lot less expensive than us going out on our own, and so we continue that partnership into next year. B. Young RV was a really interesting case. Larry Schlecht was a longtime EDC board member, and so he knew to bring us in early in the process when things were kind of, to be honest with you, going a little bit sideways. We were able to take a really good hard look at what they were planning to do on that site, and we worked with the Department of Revenue on an incentive that we thought that they would qualify for, that they were unaware of, that sort of thing. We were able to make that happen, and I think that was one of the deciding factors as to why they are coming here. Excel Plastics is a good collaboration between us and our workforce development partners. They obviously have some major hiring needs, and so we've been able to plug them in, facilitate meetings with our local employment security team, WorkSource team. American Paper Converting, it seems like I'm talking to Lydia all the time, and have a really good relationship with her and helped her out on many of their expansions. Port of Woodland, you could talk to Jennifer, but our work mainly there that I was going to highlight is working with Jennifer on CURB, Community Economic Revitalization Board, infrastructure programs, which will allow things to happen like for the purchase by Columbia Precast. And then I didn't want to just say, you know, we only work on the public side. We do work with private property owners as well, very active with the Evans family and what they're doing. And now, if I could turn it over for a minute to Bernie.
Good evening. My name is Bernie Schockhelt. I'm with Columbia River Carbonates. And I'm very privileged to talk on behalf of the Cowlitz Economic Development Council. I'm a member, a board member. And, you know, for the first 25 years or so in our existence, we really didn't take advantage of what the CEDC had to offer. About 2013 or so, we became really involved with the CEDC. And it became really apparent to us that, you know, it's easy just to stay in your own little world and not get out there and be exposed to the people that can really help you. We're working on, as you know, a marine terminal. And that's been a 10-year in the works process. And, you know, we understand some of the concerns, but we also feel it's the right thing to do for the community to eliminate the traffic. to have a low carbon footprint in the business community to sustain our business model. And it wasn't until about 2017 or so that we really made headway. And the headway we made was because of the CEDC. There was an annual meeting, I believe, where Lieutenant Governor Cyrus Habib came and spoke at one of the meetings, and we asked for an offline discussion with him about our marine terminal project. That meeting, which was very short, opened up the doorway to Hillary France. And because of that, we got a very strong, the results of those discussions opened up the doorway to a more fast tracking of the project. For years it's been kind of stalling, opposition, you name it. But once we got through the CEDC in front of the right people, the doorway seemed to open to the point where we're almost near a permit in our hand. We've been involved with the CEDC in terms of our land holdings, in terms of valuation. We've been involved in terms of potential companies that might be interested. And for those that haven't ever been to a CEDC meeting, I can tell you that the connections that we've gained in industry with the fellow members, because of my involvement in the CEDC, business opportunities opened up for our company at NORPAC. Companies that we've approached for years without success. It's just, I can't say enough about the CEDC, and it's a shame that we didn't embrace what they have to offer sooner. We waited too long, but I can tell you that they're a definite asset for us, and we appreciate their support. Thank you.
And no, he's not a paid spokesman. We can't afford him. We run a very tight budget. We are a private nonprofit. So just a couple other projects I wanted to highlight that we're working on right now, because not only do we work in this, recruitment, retention, expansion of business effort, but in 2010, we really opened up our mission from not just industrial projects, but also quality of place projects, legislative arena, education. And so some of the things we're working on right now is we heard a lot of complaints from companies that could not get attention from the Seattle Corps of Engineers. We got a coalition together of 52 different organizations to write letters wanting to transfer from the Seattle Corps to the Portland Corps. I believe you guys were part of that. That was spearheaded by our office and some of our partners, and that's still in flux. It depends on the day, but sometimes I hear things have improved. And then we also run the foreign trade zone for Cowlitz, and this is one really interesting thing for me as I'm watching what the port is doing, if successful, which we anticipate they will be, to get property along the river to also expand that FTZ down here and make that available for companies in Woodland. Currently, it's just in Kalama and Longview. And as far as the state legislative agenda, we're always working to continue to backfill CURB, which is that really important infrastructure program that seems to be under attack every session. We are also asking for some consistency in permitting. Bernie mentioned 10 years. Northwest Innovation Works is 6. So it's just we need some more consistency. Infrastructure projects, dredging. The interstate project off Route 432 is another big one that takes a lot of our time. And then we've spent some time this year too focusing on science, technology, engineering, and math in the schools, and a potential skills center. I know Woodland is served very well to the south, but there's this whole area from Centralia, Chehalis, that really down to Castle Rock, Kelso, that just isn't very well served when it comes to those jobs that, as we all know, and we all are starting to, I think, come around and believe this, not everybody's going to go to a 4-year school, and not everybody needs to. So we need to improve the skills of our students where they are, and so that's one of the things that we've focused on this year, too. And then finally, if you've met Lindsay Cope, she's an employee at the EDC. She is a go-getter. I hired her away from the Chamber of Kelso Longview 2 years ago. Excuse me. And she's mostly focused so far, admittedly, on Longview downtown and the Kelso downtown. But she's getting to the point now where they are becoming more self-sustaining, and it's time to try to replicate that model here and in Kalama. Castle Rock, I'll be honest with you, they're so amazing with Nancy Chenault. I think all we would do is get in the way. But we want to extend that down down south to Kalama and Woodland in a more substantive way. If you went to the Great Race this summer, you saw, Lindsay put that together in just a few months, and we had over 10,000 people in downtown Longview. We also have a Forest Service contract that encourages us to try to work with companies and firms that are up to 504 and up to 503. And so that one is a challenge. If you've worked with the Forest Service, they can be a challenge. But we try to get them to find a way to say yes instead of no all the time. We do promote legislative tours either with our local state senators and legislators or with our federal staff or federal legislators. We do that periodically. And then real estate broker tours also, where we get a bus and we get brokers from Portland and Vancouver and other large firms and drive them around our communities and show them, we live in an amazing place. One of the things that we do sometimes, I think, is we're hidden, or people think that once you get past Ridgefield, the earth drops off or something. I don't know. But so we know that we're successful when we get people to walk on our land, okay? So one way to get them is to go down and pick them up. And so we do that from time to time. And then I really have to thank Jennifer Keene, too. There were some questions that Mary sent me about our website, and I apologize for the state of our website. It's bulky, it's not user-friendly, it hasn't been updated, and so we went to the Port of Woodland and asked, as a part of their community development funding, could we get some assistance, because we don't have a lot of money laying around for these types of projects, to help us build a new website with a lot of the ideas that you had in your questionnaire. And Jennifer and the commissioners were wonderful enough to stake us a claim on that. We went then to the ports of Longview and Kalama and asked them to match that money. They also did. And then we're working with Pathways 2020, who needs to revamp their site as well, and so they're kicking in some money. So kind of as a team here, we hope to be rolling that out in the next few months. But and one of the big things that I want on there that's going to be improved is a more robust site selection search. So if somebody's looking for potential sites for a condo, light manufacturing, heavy manufacturing, whatever it is, any running of the gamut besides, it's like a single family house. We're not going to get into that type of real estate, but multifamily housing opportunities and that sort of thing we'd like to promote on our website. So those are kind of the high points tonight that I wanted to hit. And I always give people my mobile number because the times I'm in my office are few and far between, as you can imagine, with my job. We work with 5 cities, 3 ports, the county, and all the school districts, and so we're stretched, and we're always really busy. And one of the things that this increase in dues would enable us to do, what I'm hoping, is that we can backfill a position. We had to let a employee go earlier this year, and I'd like to get that refilled, but until I can get funding shored up, I can't do it. So that's what we're hoping to do, so we can just be more aggressive and get more involved in more projects. So, any questions for me?
Questions for Mr. Spring?
You answered them all. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for coming out tonight. Really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Thanks for the overview.
You
Really
bet.
appreciate all that.
Thanks,
you
you
do.
guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bernie. Appreciate you being here as well. Thank you. Mrs. Rip, did you get a copy of this? Yeah. All right, moving on to citizen communications for items not on the agenda. Miss Mary Irvin, President of the Woodland Business Chamber. Are you here this evening as a business chamber representative?
No.
Oh, okay, I apologize.
Well, yeah.
Miss Irvin.
No, I am.
What can we do for you this evening? Oh, what's happening right now. Even Mrs. Graham came down. I feel like we're all in trouble. Wow. Oh, okay.
You might very well be.
Okay.
Anyway,
Do I need to do 5 minutes here? All right, so we have a group with us this evening.
yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Ms. Irvin signed up. What's the group this evening?
This is the chamber board.
Chamber Board. All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
So if we could have Trooper Will Finn step forward, we would appreciate that.
I'm in a meeting right now. I didn't bring my hat. What's it? I'm getting all sweaty. What's happening?
That's the whole purpose.
Oh my goodness.
Don't read my
Okay, I
notes.
won't. What's going on?
Well, just because.
Surprise is all about, Will.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Look cute. Anyway, on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce for the City of Woodland, we would like to honor you as our Master Public Information Officer. I know that you went through some classes.
Yes.
And there was a nice article. This was a training put on by the Department of Homeland Security for the highest level of training and oh man, I said it earlier, I knew I blew it. Credentiality for public informational professionals. And if everybody doesn't know yet or has seen the article, our trooper, Mr. Finn, Will Finn, joins a group of less than 70 others, and he is the only trooper in the nation to graduate from this program. So on behalf of the Chamber, we want to thank you.
There's hardware.
There's hardware. We would like to thank you.
Oh, wow. Wow, thank you very much. Wow, well, surprise.
Why else would I be here?
I don't know. I thought we were in trouble this evening. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Well, and you tricked me. Yes, good for you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Wow. I don't even know what to say right now. Well, I don't count. Can we get a picture?
If you would like a
Yes,
picture?
yeah. Wow. Well, I'm just blown away. Right? Thank you very much.
You're very
Well, I
welcome.
mean, I got my trooper shirt on.
Right, right.
I came from another meeting, so.
Oh, perfect.
Yes. Come on.
Here we go.
Come on, it's gonna be. There you go.
Are we all gonna get in there?
There we go. Mrs. Graham, that's my wallet.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Well, I thought there was a big turnout for the meeting tonight. Wow, thank you. I just don't even know what to say, but thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of work, so thank you for recognizing that. I need a break. Let's take one. Wow. All right. Where am I? Here we go. Anyone else for items not on the agenda this evening? You threw me off my game here. Now's your opportunity. All right, moving on to items on the agenda. Mrs. Darlene Johnson, do you have anything that, you said you had to speak on the agenda this evening?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and step forward. Did you notice that? Okay.
One thing I wanted to say, which I hadn't planned on saying, is that I've been involved with sending people to the EDC, and I have never had an issue with feeling like maybe they wouldn't handle it correctly. And if I needed information, I know Ted, and if he doesn't have it, I yell at him till he gets it. And it just, that's an organization that I hope that the city will fund, because I've been up here numerous times saying we need more family wage jobs, we need to bring jobs to Woodland. And then I didn't know for sure if you are going to be looking at the hotel motel tax budget. Is it on the agenda tonight?
It's not on the, I think maybe, I don't know how far we'll get in presentations this evening, and I think that's going to be under, is that going to be under Mrs. Ripp's presentation? No, but you're not going tonight? But it's going to be underneath your portion. Is that right? Okay.
So would
maybe
this be next week? So,
Yeah.
okay, well, that was the other thing.
That's
and-
fine. Go ahead and speak to it now, that's fine.
Oh, okay.
can.
Well, I was on the Hotel Motel Committee, and we deliberated quite a while. We wish there was more hotel motel funds coming to Woodland, but everybody at our committee realizes the great job that the chamber does with the information center, and everybody felt like it should be funded for what we requested. And when we requested that amount, we had with the change in the minimum wage and the sick pay, even without considering the sick pay, it was a 13.5% increase, which wages is our major amount, and we only asked for a 10% increase, so we were cutting many other areas too. And I know a lot of people would like us to start funding for facility, because eventually we're going to have to move. And it just really wasn't in the budget this year, and I think the city ought to recognize that, because they've been thinking about funding for a facility for thing, but haven't been able to really do it because the money, really isn't there, and the only way we could get it would be to ask for more funds. With that being in mind, I have talked to both the state and on the capital budget and the county, Cowlitz County, and both of them haven't assured me, but indicated a very strong willingness to help us fund when we have an actual project in. They're not going to fund before you have the project. And I told them, when I've talked to them, that, when something gets done at exit 21, that's going to require us to, well, more than likely require us to move and have a new, and they said, we're seriously, they can't say they'll do it, but they've indicated that this is a very strong possibility of getting money to help with that move from both the county and from the capital budget fund. So we're not sitting with our head in the sand and not thinking about this. So it just wasn't in the, to ask for it this year. And I think if you look at the other the other events that we help fund, all of those are really good, and we dipped a little bit into our reserve, but Ironsides over here keeps us from going too far in. So, any questions? And so I hope that you vote with what the Hotel Motel Committee came up with on their recommendation, because we worked at it, and it wasn't easy. And we denied one, and it wasn't easy, and we came up with what we thought was the very best plan.
Well, I can tell you that I'm happy that there was a recommendation for $7,500 for the Y Racing this year. I think that they were a very successful event here in Woodland, and very respectful when they were here in town. So I appreciate that recommendation, because I don't think it was that much last year. So
no, it wasn't. And one of the persons, I can't remember his name, but he represented the Hotel Motel, indicated that this helped, and with getting people in a period of time when they normally wouldn't be full. So it's really nice when these events happen in not the touristy season, because, and he was very knowledgeable in it, and he was very knowledgeable on what the chamber does too. And it just, our people there, all of our employees, we get praise from them, the girls mainly in the office, because the girls are the ones that are dealing with the public. and we get praise all the time from how well they do, and it's just nice that that happens. So,
All right.
uh-huh.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. And I'll let you know when it's time to come back and just drive that message home.
Okay, but you be sure to not forget.
Yes, ma'am. All right, anyone else for items on the agenda that failed to sign up at the beginning of the meeting? Now's your opportunity to step forward. All right, seeing no one else. The time is 7:36. We're moving into a public hearing, ordinance number 1444, property tax levy for 2020, 101% increase for, I'm going to get this, ad valorem property tax. Where's, oh, I scratched it off, that's why. I'm sorry. We're not in a public hearing at this point. I scratched that off, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The whole evening's throwing me off after it got started. I'm just checking stuff out. We're done.
Move to approve the agenda.
Thank you.
As presented.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Moved by Councilmember Humberg, second by Councilmember Rounds. Will the clerk please take the vote? Holy smokes.
Isn't it the same thing that's in here?
Councilmember Smith?
Oh.
Councilmember Hubbard?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
All right, the agenda has been approved. The time is now 7:37. Moving into a public hearing, ordinance number 1444, property tax levy for 2020, 101% increase for ad valorem property tax. Is that right? What is it called? Valorem property tax. I have no one signed up. Now's your opportunity to step forward to speak to this item for the public hearing. All right, seeing no one jumping to the occasion, it's 7:37. We are back at regular council. Moving on to reports of city council this evening. Anyone?
I attended
Mrs. Humberg.
the workshop fair at the school, career fair, forget it, and it was amazing. There was like 70 vendors there. Some of the kids came in kind of like, oh, we have to do this. And just watching them when they walked by and somebody talked to them and they brightened up and they listened, and some of them were talking excited when they left. I thought it was amazing. That was a really good thing. I'm really glad that the port and the school put this on for children. And then again in the afternoon, the employers, I think there was 40 of them that were there that were looking to hire. We probably didn't have as many people as would have been nice, but there was more than I thought there might be. And asked good questions, and I talked to several different people and different reasons that they were there, looking for a better job, looking for a different job. It's good. I really appreciate what the port and the school did.
Nice. Mrs. Graham?
I also attended the job fair, and after going last year and seeing what was being accomplished, it was quite interesting to see the growth and everything that was going on this year. It was a pleasure for me to be there, kind of holding two roles with the council and with the Chamber of Commerce, and it was very nice to speak with the people from Beyond RV coming in, making connections with them about the chamber. And there were a couple of others, so there was a nice set of conversations going on that evening, or that day on regards to different things. And it was exciting to see the afternoon session, and I wondered about what you would really see for people coming in looking for jobs, the job fair thing, and I was impressed for the amount of people that was really there and looking. And I was able to, I sat out front with Asha Riley for a while on the way out, and just was speaking to her about the kids that were attending too, and she says, well, you know, some of them were really into it and some of them really didn't care, and I told her, well, you know, it's exposure to those that aren't really in the job market or haven't thought about that maybe at some point in time they say, oh, well, yeah, I remember somebody telling me about something else, so hopefully that's encouraging for the students at the school. So I was impressed with that. And I also want to thank all the people and Ms. Coleman for the Make a Difference Day the city put on. I was privileged to have a whole bunch of my limbs and stuff all hauled away for me, so I appreciate that and all the hard work that they've done, so thank you for that.
Yeah, can
Yep.
I want to thank you as well. The guys from the VFW helped me with that, but I also helped them in that these people were so happy that somebody would come in and do that.
Yeah.
And carry it all the way, and I went around and picked up old paint and stuff from people and took it, so they didn't have to do that. It was good. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
So I joined the Make a Difference Day. I brought my 5-year-old or 4-year-old with me. He had fun. There was a group of teenagers that helped us out quite a bit on the house we worked on and worked in the downtown area. I don't know if I can specifically call out people for who was with me helping, but
I don't see why not.
so there was a girl from Team, I think Team High School, Christine. She was a very, very nice young lady. Did a great job and really put a big effort in. And then a few different people from Fellowship of Christian Athletes, I think was the other one that was out there. I might butcher names here, so bear with me. Josiah, Cisco, and Isaiah and Marlise were all out there helping.
Flanagan?
Flanagan's, yes.
Okay.
Did I get the name right?
I believe so,
Okay,
yes.
good. I was hoping so.
Yeah. Nailed it.
So, it was a really good time, and I hope to be part of it when you guys have it again. So,
Absolutely. Thank you for participating. Anyone else?
Work they did in the roundabout on Lewis River
Oh.
Road is beautiful.
I got a text message today from someone. Oh, no, it was an email today from a local business owner complimenting Ms. Coleman and the team for sprucing that up a little bit. It looks amazing.
Yeah, they contacted us and asked us if they could do that, and we said absolutely. We just kind of went out and walked it with them and kind of gave them an idea of what to do, and they pulled it off really well. And they did not say that the majority of the material around the roundabout was all donated.
Oh, it was? Oh, I didn't know that.
So we're going to be sticking some signs out there telling that this is our thank you for the donation.
Awesome.
looks amazing.
They probably thought I was,
Doesn't it look great?
Yeah.
they probably thought I was a little off because I went through the roundabout a couple times to check it out. It looked great.
Turn to my table.
Nah, we're only concerned when you go the opposite direction.
Yes. That's a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem. You know, I do that with my kids every once in a while, just for fun. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, shh, just hold on. Just for fun.
Me too.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? Reports of City Council? All right, moving on to reports of standing committees. Public Works.
Well, we did not have a meeting today. Our next meeting will be December the 2nd, 2019 at 5:30.
All right. Public Safety.
Chief Jackson informed the committee that he would be providing the Woodland City Council with a brief presentation on the fire inspection for the city of Woodland. He talked a little about the fire inspections, what it would include, and how they were thinking of making this work. I think it's going to be good information. He also provided us with an update of what was going on in his department, so how they move crews around and what happens. Chief Kelly gave us a preliminary budget and the enhancements. He provided us with the budget that he had submitted, and we talked about it, what we needed to do, what it looked like, and how much more money they need. And that was about all. It was very informative. It was good to hear about the budget and how it's working and or not working. And our next meeting is, I don't even know when our next meeting is. 18th? Okay, November 18th, 4:30.
Okay. Thank you. Questions for Ms. Humbert? All right, Human Resources. Is that you?
That would be me.
That's you. Mr. Plaza.
Thank you. Okay, we had an update on the Teamsters clerical engineering tech grievance. It's currently being negotiated, hopefully to avoid arbitration, and the city is just waiting to hear back from the union. And in addition to that, we discussed the 2020 exempt employees cost of living allowance. Exempt employees' cost of living increases were discussed. The city administrator Boyce noted that a cost of living increase of 2.25% for exempts was included in the FY 2020 preliminary budget, except for the city administrator's salary, who was not adjusted at his request. Discussed other exempt employee benefits along with their agreements. And that was about it. Next meeting's Tuesday, November 18th at 5:30, right here.
Questions for Mr. Plaza? You're like a weird phone. I think it's a train. Oh, okay. See, no questions. Thank you, Mr. Plaza. Chamber of Commerce, Mrs. Graham.
Try to make this pretty quick. We still meet at Tuesday at noon at the Grange, brown bag lunch if you so desire. I'm sorry I do not have a list of speakers on me. I found out this afternoon that our executive director is in the hospital again. So I don't know anything more about that other than that. And of course, Halloween was last week, and the chamber did hold a Halloween costume party contest. And myself, Mary Urban, who's our president, and Vivian Mosby, one of our members went around. And we have Fiber Federal took first place, Lewis River Dental took second place, and our lovely witches of the city of Woodland took third place. We had a lot of fun with them. We had a lot of fun going out, and we were very excited to have had the participants that we had this year, and it helped with our advertisement and stuff that was out in advance. Our next event coming up is our Christmas After Hours, which will be held the 5th of December up at the golf course. We do have our auction. We have some new members in the chamber that are helping, and so we have a little bit different setup this year of different things we are going to have. We have Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus pictures, music from the Music Academy this year. We will have live auction items and also mystery box items. So it should be a lot of fun and a lot of different things. And then our lovely new ladies on the committee has a special little thing that they're going to do with a Christmas tree. So, yeah. You
Must be present to see?
Yeah, I think you can buy an ornament, and then attached to the ornament is a special prize.
Okay.
For a price. I don't know what it is, for sure.
Okay.
And then our banquet is the 18th of January 2020 at the Heathman Lodge from 5 to, say, 9 or so. That is also changed up a little bit. We are celebrating, our theme this year is celebrating businesses. So if anybody with businesses, and I hope the city finds some pictures and things we can also put up on a slideshow that will be a continual running thing. So whoever needs to work on that, we would appreciate that very much. You did? Oh, thank you. It's coming along very nicely. It's still exciting. Centerpieces for our tables, and then the chamber is doing swag bags this year. So that advertisements for the people that, businesses that we have in town can advertise and let other people know that they are here. And just something a little different. And, Citizen Business and Employee of the Year. We would like to have applications in for that this year too. They can be found on the chamber website.
I just can't believe it's already time for that again.
Yes,
I feel like we
and
just did that.
it's coming so quick that, deadlines will be coming up, so we can have our plaques and everything made. So we would appreciate information on people that live in this lovely little community.
Do we have a committee at the city level to put that together, or do we just get together and have that conversation?
We do for Employee of the Year internally.
Okay.
And we awarded that already.
Okay.
We could put that person up
Okay.
for the chamber event.
Okay. Let's have a discussion on Wednesday about that. Okay. Okay. Questions for Mrs. Graham? Okay, seeing none. Cowlitz Wahkiakum Council, Cowlitz Wahkiakum Council of Governments, Mrs. Humbert.
I was not able to attend, so I have no report tonight.
Okay. AWC and Legislative, I've got a few things. So, January 28th and 29th are going to be city action days for those council members that want to attend. We'll be sending a sign-up sheet around probably soon, I imagine. We'll discuss that on Wednesday and what that looks like as well. We've already started discussing our legislative priorities, which we'll be coming back to for another workshop. We have reached out to some of our stakeholders, such as the port and the school, and hopefully get them thinking about what their priorities are so we can hopefully align that and or support them when we're up there on the 28th and 29th. I did meet with Representative Orcutt this past Wednesday for a few hours. We had a great meeting. Looking forward to some of the things that came out of that. I'm not ready to discuss it at this point, but we have some open, positive dialogue going on, which is good. So more to come on that. Ms. Humbert.
Downtown Woodland Revitalization will meet next Tuesday, so I will have a report next one.
Okay. What's next Tuesday?
12th.
The 12th. Okay. All right. All right, questions for Ms. Humbert? Mrs. Graham?
Did you want to say anything about your
Tomorrow?
Monday celebration
Monday celebration.
on the 11th?
Oh,
Oh, I do.
what's the...
Well, Pete's going to do it
Oh, I'm
also,
sorry.
but, yeah. So next, this coming Saturday, first is breakfast, because it's always on the second Saturday. So come and join us for breakfast and help support our local veterans. And then on November 11th at 11, we will have a ceremony at Hoffman Plaza to honor all veterans and also to kind of, I don't want to say open house, but I'm not sure what the word is I want to use, for our new, moving our monument and our new flagpoles and flags and how beautiful it all turned out. So come join us November 11th at 11, so it's easy, 11/11 at 11, and help us celebrate.
Okay. So who's speaking this year?
Chief.
What? I see, he keeps these things from us so we don't show up and listen. I know what you're doing. Well, I'll be there.
Chief Kelly will be our speaker, so.
Okay. Thank you for letting us know that.
I might have a thing that day.
Yeah.
I expect
Good thing
that
is
you'll
here.
be, I expect that you'll be recognizing the holiday that comes before November 11th.
That's the most important day.
Of
Everyone
course.
knows that.
Well, that's-
Wait, hold on, I know this. It's a birthday.
You know.
I don't know anything. I don't know. I do know what that is. It takes me a second. A lot of happy birthday. Happy birthday. I didn't know it was your birthday. I know what's going on. All right. I like to pretend I do. Well, that's exciting.
Just so everybody knows what we're talking about, it's Marine Corps birthday.
Marine Corps birthday, I knew,
What day is that? Is that the 10th?
10th,
Isn't that the day before the 11th?
yeah.
Well, last time I checked. Hold on. Let me get out my Wallstead attorney at law calendar. Yes, it is.
I make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
Denied. He doesn't have that kind of juice. That's exciting. Awesome. It's always a great program, too. So,
There'll
Good.
be coffee and cake at the VFW afterwards.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm always in for a good coffee and cake.
Yeah.
All right. Questions for Ms. Humbert? Y'all threw me off my game tonight, is what you've done. Reports of city officers. I too was at the job fair in my other role, but I do want to recognize all the city departments that were there. We had a major block of tables, which was fantastic. Police department was there, public works was there, planning department was there, clerk's office was there. Did I miss anybody? That was it. All right. It was nice to see the showing. And thank you very much to the Port of Woodland for partnering with the school district to make that happen. we were part of it last year. This year was completely over the top. Appreciate Mr. Weil being there and walking around and meeting everyone. Fun speaking with him, and thank you very much for lunch that day as well. It was a good time. It's nice that we were able to expand into the larger gym. I will be able, just on a side note, I tried to get my car in that gym, and I was I was denied. So
Parked it in front.
I did get it as close to the building as possible, right up front. I don't know if you saw that or not. Everybody was. I did take some pictures just to prove that I was there. But Mr. Huddleston was not about to let me drive that through onto that beautiful gym floor. But maybe next year, I'll work on them. Maybe Mrs. Graham can make some cookies once a month. We could just start just like bribing him. Let the trooper bring his car in. But it was fun. It was a good time. So thank you very much for assisting with that. Nobody mentioned the Lovejoy Gallery on the 24th. That went down.
I mentioned that last week.
You went to that?
Yes, and I mentioned it last week.
Oh, you mentioned last. Did we have a meeting last week?
Yes, we did, last Monday.
Oh, that Monday didn't count. It was just budget. It was just workshop.
Okay, well.
We're bringing it up again.
I did attend that.
Well, because
and
I
was
missed
very
it.
nice.
Yeah, and I'm sorry
Yes.
that I missed it.
Yes.
So it sounds like it was a really well-attended event.
Yes,
and
it was.
Everyone had a good time.
Yes.
So I'm sorry that I missed that. I talked about my meeting with that. Tomorrow night, the Business Chamber has been invited to a new business open house over on 534 3rd Street. So just a reminder for your calendars. Also, City Council is also invited to that. We have a new business here in town, which is 2 rentals. So they're going to be having those open for folks to go through. And that's from 5:30 to 7:30 tomorrow night. Looking forward to it. And they're the new homes right behind the old feed store in town that were recently built. So come on down. They're fully furnished. Come take a look, have something to eat, and have a drink. So, or a refreshment. There will be non-alcoholic refreshments there. I said have a drink, but I just want to make it clear there will be all kinds of things to ingest. Wait,
Well, I was gonna go.
Next! Mr. Boy, save me.
Okay. I
Holy
don't have a lot
smokes.
to report. I've been working on the budget. I was here on Mickey, I can say, but I was in the office. Anyway, I did want to report
Oh, I
that
forgot
we did
about
put a request for proposals out on 100 Davidson. We did have one company respond. Public Works Director Coleman and myself were reviewing it. We're going to try to get together with the person and then eventually report back to council. So that's kind of. Other than that, we just have the upcoming events. You heard about Veterans Day and the VFW breakfast. On November 18th, we have a public hearing scheduled for the fiscal year 2020 final budget first reading. That can be a little flexible depending on council's pace. So we have it on the calendar right now, but that can move. November 21st, Planning Commission meeting at 7 p.m. Also on the 21st, Chamber After Hours. Inkability DG at Leffman's Coffee, 5 p.m. November 23rd, Grange Snowflake Bazaar. I don't have a time in the morning. Something to 4 p.m. Turkey Bingo at 5:30 p.m. November 25th, we have a budget work session scheduled if needed, 7 p.m. December 2nd, adopt ordinance for the 2020 budget, final reading. Again, that can move a little bit. We have to have the final budget completed before December 31st. December 5th, Chamber After Hours at Lewis River Golf Course, 5 p.m. December 7th, 2019, we have Winterfest tree lighting at Horseshoe Lake Shelter. So that's what I have this evening.
Ms. Coleman, the meeting that's on the 5th, is that one open to council to come to? That's being scheduled through Judith right now? Or is that an internal meeting?
No, that's an internal meeting.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, gotcha. Thank you, Mr. Boyce. Questions for Mr. Boyce this evening?
Is there a meeting next Tuesday, or no?
Next Tuesday for the budget.
12. Oh, I forgot about, because Monday we're closed.
Good question. Would council like to meet on?
No.
Check my calendar.
I would,
We have another one.
It depends how tonight goes. If it looks like you need more time, I'd suggest we do schedule it.
I was thinking there was something else.
It's up to council.
Council?
Can we make that decision after?
Sure, yeah, after this evening?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good, we can do that. Questions for Mrs. Graham? Did you have
Oh,
some-
just a correction, the after hours at Luckman Coffee, which is hosted by Inkability, it starts at 5:30.
Oh, not 5? Starts at 5:30.
Isn't that right?
Okay.
It's not? Am I wrong on that one, or was it something else that started at 5:30?
That was when it was, Lundy Bank.
Oh, excuse me.
5 o'clock?
Yeah.
5
We'll-
o'clock.
We'll leave it at that. We can drink more coffee that way.
Okay.
If you get it off the chamber website.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay, I'll save you. I forgot to mention Halloween. We did pass out quite a bit of candy on Halloween in the downtown area, and I was extremely disappointed to find out that we were third. I just want to get that on the record. I think that the City Hall did a fantastic job. Mrs. Rip, you looked wonderful and even made a baby cry. Poor thing, big old tears. Just, yeah, I thought you did a great job. But you know, the baby had some other thoughts. Next year, so is there a contest for the holidays, though?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
There will be.
Okay. We will be taking first in that one. Ms. Coleman?
We've already started our planning.
Perfect.
Have you? We're hoping
Yes.
that there will be 2 categories for that. Just checking. Residential and
The
business.
city winner and city winner.
Since we only have a residential home that Public Works is in, we might be able to.
We may be able to pull that one off. Loophole. Done. All right, Mr. Randolph. What's that? Nothing.
Challenge.
Questions for Mr. Randolph this evening? All right, Mrs. Ritt.
I'm keeping my report short. Got 3 things again we're working on. Budget, open gov platform, like we're getting very near launch of department, budgeting tool, and trying to finish up that audit.
Okay, perfect. Questions for Mrs. Ritt? Mr. Fredericks.
Was there any further discussion with staff on adding the vouchers to the agenda?
So what our plan is that those will be attached to the minutes every council meeting after we scan them today.
Okay, so they will be included, beginning the next meeting?
We actually already talked about them.
They're there now.
Then I
is
didn't
what I'm
see it.
hearing.
If you go to the website.
Okay, that's why I asked, because I didn't see it. Okay, does it actually say, is it just in the minutes? Do you have to click on the minutes? I was looking for one that said vouchers.
You would click on the agenda.
Okay.
Which would show the voucher.
It's agenda packet, isn't it?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mrs. Ritt? All right, Chief Kelly.
Just a couple of things. I want to thank the board for setting up the job fair career exploration thing. That was a lot of fun, along with Woodland High School. We had a few people show up for that. The 2 clerks and myself and Sergeant Keller were present all day. So it was a lot of fun. We also had a pretty good time on, I did, on Make a Difference Day. That was a lot of fun. And I really appreciate all the folks in Woodland and the surrounding area to help take care of our city. I think that speaks volumes, and what a fine job that Public Works did setting it up. And the other thing, Mayor Flynn and I attended the 6 River Trail ribbon cutting ceremony in Kelso, and that was.
I do so many things.
That was really pretty neat.
It was amazing.
And we all stood out in the middle of Grid Street and almost got hit by a couple of cars, so that was fun.
It was beautiful.
Other than that, I got nothing.
Well, I got to go this time. See, I normally don't get to go, and you go.
So you got to go this time.
And the chief was there.
You guys go ahead and talk. We'll just wait.
You should have saw what I was wearing.
Probably not.
You guys go ahead, we'll wait till you're done.
Sorry, Chief, continue.
I'm done.
Sorry. Questions for Chief Kelly? Nothing. Thank you, Chief.
Chief, how was your in softball that day?
What's that?
Your ensemble, how was your ensemble that day? Was it a nice, did it
For the
match?
Six Rivers Trail?
Six River Trail, was it nice?
The mayor was wearing his day shift costume.
Oh.
And I was wearing my standard issue uniform, representing the city of Wilton.
Thank you.
I didn't have my Wilton jacket on.
Next time.
He doesn't have one, there can't be a next time until he gets one.
The mayor.
Mr. Goddard,
Logo on it.
looks like you're up, Mr. Goddard. Mr. Goddard has a jacket.
Thank you. So I have a quick presentation similar to what Tracy does. So I wanted to include some pictures in there because there were actually some completed construction projects this month that we wanted to take a look at. So on the building side of the house, we had 15 residential projects this quarter for a total of, 13 this quarter for a total of 24 for the year. So the two live work projects that were on the 3rd Avenue, just a block away from City Hall. We have 3 new residential residences being built on Bush Lake shoreline. And then we have 4-plex and 2-plexes or duplexes in the city. So the next slide, shows you where the downtown projects are. And the next slide shows you where the 8 units, the 4 and the 2 duplexes are in those locations.
Oh, they came in and submitted their stuff, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Next slide.
Mr. Goddard, what does the Airbnb mean on the first slide?
Air bed and breakfast.
That was started out, it's going to be.
So they're the
Airbnb.
ones
The offices are
behind the doctor's
Yeah,
office.
behind the doctor's office,
okay.
behind the old feed store.
They're actually technically live work units.
Say that again?
They're technically live work.
Live work, got it.
Come to the open house tomorrow night and you will see what they are. They're
Okay.
very, very nice.
Excellent.
On the industrial side, we currently only have one active industrial project in work. That's the Builder's First Source Trust Plant on Sherman Avenue. There are no other active projects, but we do have 2 approved mini storage projects that have been approved. Plus, there's also being another mini storage project being built, and the RV park, we expect their application this month.
We'll take questions when we're done. Sorry, go
Okay.
ahead.
And there's the photo of the trust plant. You can see that the building's roughed in. They have pretty much all of the site improvements done. I think they finished their parking area this week. Their sidewalk is in, and their landscaping will be the next thing to go in. Next slide. On the commercial side, we have 2 projects that were completed since we last talked. That's the Dutch Brothers and also the Belmont Loop project. So those photos are next one to see. So these are Brett Flieger's project. There's 3 gray buildings next door to his 3 red buildings. So it's the same owner, just the new site. He's looking for tenants currently. My understanding is he's got a couple of people that he's talking to. So hopefully we'll do businesses in those locations pretty quick. He's got his occupancy permits. And then the next slide is the Red Canoe, which should be open pretty quick. I'm actually expecting them probably within the next few weeks off for their final.
It's like 1 month.
It's going up pretty quick.
Yeah.
Next slide should be the Dutch Brothers, which has now been open for a few weeks. And looks like things are going good. Next slide. So on the land use slide, we've issued 3 approvals in the last quarter. That's the Carpenito site out on Donald Road, the bus facility, and Clark Public Utilities Misty Lane water line that goes underneath the Lewis River to Clark County. And then also the Sage Investment short plat was approved. We have 3 projects that are new in the last quarter that are in review. It's the ARCO AMPM. This is the third version, third iteration of their project. And Red Leaf and the Sun Tower, both of those projects have been submitted, and we were trying to process those, but they don't have all the information that we need to proceed with the review. So those ones are kind of on hold while we're waiting for additional information, but they are in, and we're expecting them to proceed hopefully before the end of the year. We should be able to get those decisions issued. Next slide. Code enforcement. So we had a couple big things going along. One is the La Casa de San Juan Diego. Parking the fire lanes at night, they have been parking 2 or 3 cars deeply, so there's not enough room for vehicles to get by. And so our code enforcement officers working with our Clark County Fire and Rescue to make sure that those lines are properly identified and kept clear. And then the other one is we've been working with some neighbors not far from the city hall down there for some industrial noise that's coming across, bothering some neighbors, so we're trying to get that straightened out. Notice and orders, we issued 3, the oak tree, the unauthorized vehicles, the pallet, our pallet friend, Park Street vegetation, and then the trailer depot getting their vegetation installed, or installed. So far to this year, she's had 153 complaints to date. Because she only works 2.5 days a week, that works out to more than 1 a day, whether she's here or not. And it's a complaint-driven system, so we're trying to figure out how to do more reporting on that. Hopefully we'll get a little more detail for you as we develop that system. November 7th at 6:15 is a short course for local planning at Battleground. If anybody is interested in going, I can make sure that I get a spot reserved for you. And then November 21st, we have our planning commission hearing for the code enforcement and the retuning our code to actionable ones. So we expect those to be done to you hopefully in December, maybe wait until January. And then how we do the budget, maybe we have the brain capacity to handle that at the same time.
I have a few comments. Mr. Gard, first of all, thank you for putting that together. I think you were outshining Ms. Coleman this evening with the photos. You obviously made a site visit. So well done, well done. You're up to the challenge. Ms. Coleman? I'd like to take note for the ARCO station. You had said that they were on their third revision for design. I want to make it very clear to anyone who's listening at home and to council, that was not the city. That was project-driven, not us-driven. They keep revising their design for the property. It has nothing to do with us. I don't want you to think that we were sending them away and forcing them to do things, so I just want to make that very clear. Dutch Bros, I don't know what's going on over there, but they've done a great job with traffic. They're designed for the parking lot, so well done to them. We're happy that they're here and happy that they're not creating a traffic impact on Pacific Avenue or Beechwood. At least I haven't seen one yet or heard of any. As far as the oak tree issue with our pallet friend, thank you, Chief, and thank you to Miss Lovejoy. I know that she was instrumental in helping getting that set up, and also to Waste Connections, Waste Control. Waste Control, thank you, for helping us out. It took us a while we had some challenges with that, to help that individual move along and gather property. So we're very, very pleased with the partnerships that were done. I know that there were some local businesses in town that were calling and complaining, along with some citizens. We did everything in our power. It just took us some time to get there. Not that it wasn't being addressed right away, but it was. It just, again, it's private property and it's not a city issue, but we did have some folks in town that were some good partners, and along with the police department and Sergeant Lip in particular, who had contact with the gentleman, had a good rapport. So happy that we were able to get that cleaned up.
So when is the pallets and crap that was dumped there?
They're not, I thought it was gone.
No, it was still there.
I was going to talk to you when we were done.
Oh, okay.
It's hard, Carol.
We got a lot of it. I know that we filled up the dumpster. The dumpster was full. I was under the impression that it was gone, so
No.
not yet. Okay. Well, we'll still be working with that to get that. We got the vehicles out of there and the majority of the garbage.
Some gasoline in a batch.
Okay. Mr. Fredericks.
No burning in the
Add that to the list, sorry.
sorry. I don't know that Chief Jackson's not here to stop you from saying those things. He would usually be here to help with that. You made a reference to storage units. Could you please go back to that and explain the storage units?
Sure. So we currently have 3 projects that have approvals, or sorry, 2 projects for expansions or new storage businesses. We currently also have 5 in town, and then there's also the 2 south of town, south of Horseshoe Lake. There's the formal storage facility that's there, and then it looks like there has opened a new storage business just south of town where they are moving in truck containers or rail containers and renting them out for people to store stuff in. And I believe they're also adding RVs there as well. On top of that, I've had recent inquiries onto 2 additional storage businesses, including a 16-acre site in the area that we're studying for the industrial services. And so that site is being looked at. I've actually had 2 calls on that site as a storage facility. So we seem to be a hot market for storage.
Is there anything that prevents storage units from being built in the industrial area? I know that we have one on Sherman at this point.
There is not. There are other jurisdictions that do not allow it in the industrial zone, that it is a commercial use and not an industrial use, but our code currently encourages it in all zones, except for residential.
We're encouraging this. So when we talk about family wage jobs, this is not really one of those projects that creates a family wage job in our industrial area. It needs to be revisited. How long does it take to revisit something like this?
Well, if you want the planning commission to discuss it at the next meeting on the 21st, I can have language prepared, and then we wouldn't be able to hold a public hearing that quickly, but we could have a discussion with the planning commission, and I could bring it to you in December or January if you wanted to proceed with those changes.
Okay. I'm seeing a lot of nods from council to please move forward with that.
Are you moving this in front of other items that are already being worked on at the planning commission, or can they work on this as well?
This has been on the retooling our code list for a while, but it was not something that was taken with the batch that we started 4 months ago. But yes, this was identified before, including the prohibition for any storage or cargo containers being used in the commercial districts. It was already on the list, and it has been for a while.
So if the city ever expands south into Cowlitz County there, those storage containers that are already there will just be grandfathered into the system. That's correct. Okay. So eventually we'll have 2 more on top of the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that you identified already inside the state limits, and if these other. How do we? You've said you've got somebody calling on 16 acres. So how do we put a hold on that until the planning commission has revisited this and brought it back to city council?
Well, if somebody is looking at a piece of property for development, they are not vested under Washington state land use law until they submit a fully complete application for proposal. So.
Is it possible to bring a moratorium forward on this type of development until planning commission has completed their review and brought it back to city council?
I'm not sure a moratorium is possible.
Okay.
But I would have to look.
Or a hold, a pause, whatever you want to call it. A moratorium, perhaps.
So, I think what you're saying is you just want me to get that language to you before we get any applications in here?
I believe that's what I'm hearing from council that's sitting with me this evening. I'm just trying to speak for them, so I won't speak for them in city council. I'll let you weigh in.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Goddard, that's exactly what's being asked of you this evening.
Would you like me to bring you language before the planning commission?
If we have a workshop on Tuesday. It's a little late to advertise, I think, isn't it? Or no, we're good.
Is there a meeting on the 25th?
Yes.
Yes. There's a meeting on the 18th as well. The 18th and the 25th.
So I could get an advertisement for a public hearing on the 25th, if that was your desire.
City Council should weigh in.
Yes, please.
That's exactly what City Council's asking of you, Mr. Goddard.
That's the Monday before Thanksgiving, is everybody?
Oh, will everyone
We
be?
have quorum.
Will we have a quorum on the
I'll be
25th?
here.
I'll be here.
1,
I'll
2,
be here.
I'll be here.
3, 4. Yes, we do. Thank you, Mrs. Rip. Jeez, that snuck up on us. Oh, okay, yes, and other further questions, sorry, I hijacked Mr. Goddard's presentation, I apologize.
Mr. Goddard, on your presentation, I appreciate it. I would highly recommend this short course in local planning. I've taken it before, I got a lot of good information out of it. So if you can make it, definitely take the time to do it. And then I'm always pleased to see additional places to get coffee that are popping up. I think we per capita, we have probably the highest amount of coffee joints around, I think. No?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
We need a few more. We need a few more.
Any other questions for Mr. Goddard or comments? Mr.
Hey,
Chapman?
Mr. Gar, I seen that the B Young has put asphalt down, so how are they coming along?
Yes, when I talked to the contractor, they said they expected the business to be open January 1st.
Is that's what the folks said at the job fair? I
Yes,
think.
they are planning them, Bill, that I was told by the project manager, the lady that was there that day, that they're planning their open house for, I know what January now. It's the kind of towards the middle or end of January.
So they're gonna open and then like a soft open? Okay.
I just know when the open house is supposed to be, because I was informing her, we have royalty and the board and the whole 9 yards to join them.
We're ready to celebrate their opening?
Yes, along with Red Canoe.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Yeah, and they are scheduled, let's see here. The 18th, 16th of January. No. It's before one of our events, but I don't remember which one it is. Anyway, yes, it is just before banquet.
Okay.
In January.
All right. Anything else for Mr. Goddard this evening? Public Work, Chief Coleman.
Yes. So I'm not going to flatter you with pictures.
She ran out of time.
Because I like to have other people shine. So tonight, I'm going to just speak to you of a few items. I was going to get up and do a song and dance, but I figured it'd be easier just to talk because I don't sing that well. I'm probably not going to be dancing out here for a while. I just want to share with you that due to the budget, I just want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on. There is so much to put together, and since our council meetings are long, and we have a lot going on in public works, I'll just speak on a brief couple topics, and then we can get into our budget, and then we can do another presentation the following month.
Okay.
Kind of like a wrap-up, in January, so.
Okay.
But Travis and I went to the IACC conference, and Jennifer was there with us, and we had an outstanding time, a lot of great information that I'd like to present this next time. And on our way back from there, we stopped in Union Gap and looked at their new $9 million facility, which is their city hall and police department, and something that we think that would be advantageous to move forward on at the city of Woodland. And so we presented that, both of us, Travis and I, presented that to Peter Boyce and yourself, and so something that I think we can look into.
Yeah, that was the that's the only thing I was wondering.
Hey, I can find the money.
Did you find the 9 million?
I forgot my wallet.
Don't go there.
Okay.
So, and then also our Make a Difference Day, I just want to give a shout out to our Public Works Department. I'm going to share that Kathy and Dennis do an outstanding job every year putting that together. And so I don't have a lot of participation in it because I'm doing other things behind the scenes, but I will tell you that that our team goes all out for that. And the numerous amount of phone calls and the organization and putting bags together and just the donations that we have from the local businesses, our public works has done an outstanding job year after year, and I'm very appreciative of it because you can see what happens as you go through the city. So. We are in a critical state right now in public works, so we are paperwork heavy right now. We have grants that all dollars that need to be spent all by year end. You know, we have Hoffman Street that's starting up this next week. We have CDBG that needs to be wrapped up at the end of this next month. We have grant paperwork for reimbursements that we're submitting part to the court. So we are knee deep in paperwork at Public Works, and we're trying to gather all of our invoices that haven't been invoiced to us because we're looking at our budget numbers and we know we've spent the money, but the invoices haven't come in. So that's what we're really heavy into right now, is trying to pull all that information in from the county and the clean sweeping and pull all that information and get the money spent so we can be eligible for grants in the future. If we don't spend it, that puts a hit on the people who give us the grants, and then they have the opportunity, well, they have the, could potentially lose the opportunity for future funding if we don't spend that money. So it's very critical for us to get our paperwork in and billing done in a timely fashion. So we're working on that right now. We're still working at and you'll see pictures in December, wrapping up the HVAC at the water plant and the electrical, and we did a startup of the generator that went off wonderfully. We finished the concrete pad at the wastewater plant. We are getting ready to go out to bid for the booster lift station and the water treatment filtration system, that first one, and then the Scott tie-in to Old Pacific Highway. We're working on wrapping up the soundproofing for the police room. I wanted to say another thing too, that when we were at the IACC conference, going back a little bit, we also had dinner with Gray and Osborne, and had a pretty good opportunity to meet with some other cities in the area and see what they were doing, and it was a very good event. I just want to say I appreciate council and citizens for allowing us to go to that and paying our way. It really is a benefit to the city overall for what we're able to take from that conference and bring back to the city to be able to have funding for the citizens. So, but anyway, that's pretty much all I have right now.
Questions for Ms. Coleman? Mr. Chapman?
Ms. Coleman, I want to commend you and your crew and Mr. McMahon here for that fire hydrant fiasco we had. You guys were on it very quickly, got it cleaned up and resolved.
Yes.
I'm kind of thinking it's like the second time I think it's been tagged.
Yeah, I think third, and I actually had to move it this time. And then Joe, who was out there, I was out there, and he was standing there. I said, "Grab a shovel. You want to work?" And he grabbed a shovel and he went to work. So, and I was on the phone calling Matt Reichel. Shout out to Matt Reichel. Shout out to Washcott, who helped us. The police department, who came to our rescue for flagging. There's just a whole team of individuals that came out for sweeping and moving gravel, and it was and the Vancouver came out to suck out the hole, and it was crazy. A lot of people came together for that in a matter of minutes.
So maybe you might put some minion guards on that one or something?
No, I moved it around the corner, so they shouldn't make it this next time, but we technically have bollards all down the way the trucks drive where they shouldn't be driving, because they don't follow the truck route, unfortunately. So. And to them it just feels like they're going over a curve. I understand that, but at the same time, yeah, they shouldn't be going that route.
Were we able to track that person down?
Yes, the police department did a wonderful job on that.
Good. All right.
We have about it was a tune of about a $15,000 bill.
Oh.
Yeah, for everybody who was involved, pulling everybody out. We had overtime involved, and so.
Yeah, I'm glad we were.
Well, we had the whole sidewalk concave out underneath, the whole sidewalk gave out.
Yeah.
And then that residential front yard was
It
just
flooded the basement of the residence. That doesn't include
Yes,
their
it was
house.
Oh, wow. I did not know that part had happened. Wow, that's horrible.
And commending Scott, because Dennis was off, Scott took charge and did a really good job out there as a supervisor. So.
And that's why he is Woodland's 2019
There you
Employee
go.
of the Year.
Employee of the Year, yeah.
Yes. All right, any further questions for Ms. Coleman? All right, thank you, Ms. Coleman. Moving on to consent items.
Move to approve consent items?
I'll second.
Moved by Councilmember Humberg, second by Councilmember Rounds. Will the clerk please take the vote?
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Frederick?
Aye.
Councilmember Humbert?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
All right, consent items have been approved. Moving on to action items. Action item C, ordinance number 1444, property tax levy for 2020 payable and resolution fixing the percentage increase. First reading.
Move adoption of ordinance number 1444.
Second?
Moved by Councilmember Fredericks, seconded by Councilmember Humberg. Councilmember Fredericks.
First reading, I believe this actually decreases the overall tax by $9.32 on a house valued at $250,000. Is that right, Ms. Ripp? Okay. This doesn't even come close to keeping track of the rising costs that the city has for new contracts, rising costs of inflation, albeit a small percentage of inflation, but it doesn't even come close to covering the city's costs. So this helps a little bit.
Councilmember Humbert.
No comment.
Further discussion? All right, seeing nothing else, will the clerk please take the vote on ordinance number 1444?
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Humbert?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
Councilmember Frederick?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Action item C has passed. Moving on to action item D, authorize mayor to sign contract amendment with Matt Reichel for sidewalk projects.
Move to approve action item D?
I'll second.
Moved by Councilmember Humberg, seconded by Councilmember Rounds. Councilmember Humberg.
Ms. Coleman provided us with a breakdown of where all of these unexpected expenditures came from. Just need to take care of it.
Councilmember Rounds.
No comment.
Further discussion? Will the clerk please take the vote on action item D?
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Humbert?
Aye.
Councilmember Frederick?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Action item D has passed. The time is now 8:32. We'll take a, how much time do you guys want for a break? 8 minute. We'll take an 8-minute break before we go into workshop.
See, so
I know you're trying to make sure.
I love my notes.
So that's,
Oh, you're talking about the one in the actual gas station? Yeah, not the one.
Yeah, I don't know for sure what's going to happen tomorrow. I know one has been canceled.
We are moving into the time for the workshop, 2020 preliminary budget department presentations. And first up this evening, Ms. Coleman drew the long straw. She was jumping at the chance last Wednesday to go first. I think she wants to impress you with what she has to. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Boyce.
I just wanted to mention that I placed on your desk a copy of the original submissions from department directors, so you have that also.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Is that what this is?
Yep.
Another updated version of what we already have?
No, these are the requests.
It's enhancements and the original request from department directors.
Okay. Thank you.
Better. And I'm assuming some are in the budget and the majority are not.
So we have page numbers on these.
Okay. Ms. Coleman, you are up.
So, please gander at the screen. Started off, you know, so that's kind of the way I'm feeling. Okay. So we'll just kind of, so this is very basic and to the point. I don't want to, you guys have all the details that is in all the spreadsheets that have been submitted to you. You have all, you go through all of it all you want, so I'm just getting to the nitty gritty. Why isn't that coming up correctly on your, on there? That is the way it looks. Well, sorry, it doesn't, that isn't the way that I did it. So here. All right, pick one.
There's 8 of us.
Okay, so we have to go for everything there.
Olives, green olives.
Oh, it was, well, because it's not, it's a regular meeting, so you don't get treats, I'm sorry. Tuesday, if you choose to
Yeah, I
get
was
together
thinking, why don't we
Tuesday.
have cookies out there?
It's a regular Monday.
I was
No,
thinking,
it's not regular, we're going over the budget.
I was thinking a meat
Oh, we
tray.
had cupcakes last one.
Meat tray, yes. Cheeses and some Janice cookies.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Graham's cookies. All right.
So this, so I'll just, you can have that in front of you.
Look what you started. It's your
So
fault.
basically, we'll start with the public works. Now, when I say general facilities, I'm talking of one line item here into the whole general facilities. So I gave you that line item, and that line item that I requested was for repairs and maintenance only, okay? So that was the area that I look at. So when you're looking in general facilities in the budget, that's the one line item that I requested these dollars for, okay? So I requested $57,000, and with the budget cuts, I have a $30,000 that was in the preliminary budget. So that's a variance of
Bless you.
$27,000. So what that means is that if you have facilities that are outside public works that need to be repaired, like you have the police soundproofing room that we did, or flooring, windows at City Hall, blinds, anything like that that you need above and beyond, that won't be happening. This is just a very basic preliminary budget with the $30,000. So anything won't be above and beyond that, just so you know. That's what that means, okay?
So,
go to the next one.
hold on a second. You requested 57.
Yes,
The preliminary budget has 30.
yes.
What was cut out?
Well, there's gonna be lots of stuff. We have landscaping, we have parking lot resurfacing, we have new flooring in the community center, we have plumbing that we still are dealing with here at the police station, we have HVAC stuff that's going on at City Hall. There's been some remodeling that they wanted at City Hall, so those are things that you can't do. So you're just doing the basic maintenance repairs, changing filters, so on and so forth.
Okay.
Okay, the next one, Public Works Park. So, and when we're looking at these numbers here now, when we're going into the park, we're looking at everything. We're looking at salaries and benefits. So this is all inclusive, okay? Gas when you drive the car. So the total budget here request was for $329,000, and the preliminary budget is cut back to $242, which is a variance of $87,000. So what this means is I've given up the summer labor for the parks. We have the existing staff will only be working 80% of the time in the park. So there'll be no painting of the buildings. Like if you see Horseshoe Lake, the building does need to be painted. The playground equipment, if it breaks, we will not be repairing it. Engineered wood chips that we're short on, we've been short on for 2 years and haven't been able to get grants on because it's considered maintenance dollars will not be put in. We have Arbor Day tree purchases that we will put them down on Beechwood Street due to the fact that we've taken all those trees out on Beechwood Street for the CDBG. So we were gonna use our Arbor Day celebration down on Beechwood to replant some of those trees. We had to cut the trees by 75%. We aren't gonna do the vegetation aquatics plan that we needed, and then we're hoping that our Horseshoe Lake testing will continue with the staff that we have that are voluntarily using their boat to go out on Horseshoe Lake, because we don't have anybody to test in Horseshoe Lake and we can't afford it. That also means that we wouldn't have a Kubota for watering the plants downtown, because we've been talking about that. So that's where that $87,000 goes, which you will not have.
So this summer, we're not going to have anybody doing anything down at the park, not picking up trash going on?
You will have one person 80% of the time that will be in all of the parks, and they will pick up trash. So you might have the trash picked up, but right now our guys go out and they pick up the pine cones and everything else, so that probably won't happen as often. Well, not probably, it will not happen as often. And when you go around, we won't get as much of the mowing done, so we have the bioswales and stuff all around, they do all of that mowing, so that will not happen, because we don't have the extra staff now. So that's what's going on with the park. Okay, so then on Public Works Street, Again, this is all in regards to salaries and everything, so when you look at the number, it includes salaries. So the request is 1.2, and the budget, the preliminary budget is 1 million, and the variance is 238. So what this means is, of this, 410,000 of this, budget is salaries and benefits, and a pass-through service, and Cowlitz PD streetlight repairs, okay? So with the balance that we are taking out, we won't be doing a citywide ADA report, which we've cut out the last 2 years. And that is one report that we need for some grant dollars that we go for. We're not going to, you know how we did the one small road? Lake, what's the name? Lake, I should know.
Lake Avenue.
Thank you. I should know this off the top of my head. The little road that we did, Lake Avenue, was so many couple hundred feet. You'll get one of those roads again this year. You'll do no crack sealing of any of the roads. You'll have no grade box. We're going to try to purchase a grade box to try to help because we don't have Cowlitz PV. No street light upgrades, no increase in street cleaning. So the cuts were made, $60,000 from sidewalks, $53,000 from road repairs, $43,000 from street lights, $42,000 for street cleaning, and $40,000 for a citywide report. So that's where your $238,000 came out. So that's what you will not have.
Good news.
Okay, Public Works sidewalk grant on the next one. So this is just the grant project, and so this is some of the projects that we're finishing up right now. But what we did do is, and we're scheduled to complete the CDBG and the Hoffman Street sidewalks this year, but we also applied for an STBGP, which is the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program. We applied for that, and the project cost was about $1 million, and that is on Lakeshore Drive. So we're looking at where the library property is, the sidewalk ends, and then goes all the way around the corner, goes all the way down along Horseshoe Lake, and goes down to where the guardrails are for where the lake goes. So as you know, it has a drop off.
Yeah.
So we went ahead and put dollar amounts together to apply for a grant to put a sidewalk in, a 10-foot sidewalk, because you know how we have the triathlons and stuff coming in town, so we wanted to be able to make that tie-in where they could use that path. And so we're gonna have to build a retaining wall. And so it's been told to us that we will be receiving this grant, and of that $1 million, we're gonna have to come up with $131,000, which we do have, and we can use part of our transportation impact fees for that, because we're gonna be redoing all of Lakeshore Drive, the road, which was crack sealed 10 years ago, and nothing's been done with it. So we're gonna be redoing Lakeshore Drive, we're gonna be putting in a 10-foot sidewalk, so that's gonna come back to you later on for approval of that when we receive the grant award approval, so just an FYI.
How does that work with the property owners when we get a grant like this? I mean, that's
We
a
have the
vacant.
right of way there.
Okay.
Yeah, we've already looked at it, we have all the right of way that we need, we have more than enough to put in a 10-foot sidewalk there.
Okay. Doesn't that improve the value of their property by doing this?
Absolutely.
What is the return for the city for going out and doing, I'm sorry, I'm sidebarring here. What, because we're making it more valuable for somebody that lives here, but what's the return coming back? I know that eventually we'll have a business that is built there, but we've made their property more desirable. So is there a developer's agreement or something that's put into place that those dollars will be paid back to us or given so we can use them somewhere else?
So we can talk about, you can go ahead and talk about one of the sidewalks that we did was our Pacific for Dutch Bros.
Okay.
Making that property more
Yes.
valuable. So we can go ahead and talk a little bit about that.
We could do a newcomers agreement, which would allow us to recover the costs that would have been covered by a property owner at the time of development. And then they will just simply pay us back when that development occurs.
Okay, thank you.
But that would be just for the grant match, the city bill, correct?
That's a good question.
I think it would be, because I don't think we could get anything above and
Yeah, I
beyond
don't
that.
think we'd be awarded grants.
But
But we at least get our money back to you somewhere else.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
fantastic.
Great point there, thanks Steve for bringing that up. So, I think you were speaking to that. Okay, and then the next one, which is Public Works Safe Route to School. So we're reapplying for this one, this grant, and I think Pete went over that last month, last week, was it last week? Did you guys get a copy of the grants that we applied for? Is that last
Yes,
week?
yes.
Okay. Okay, so the Safe Routes to School, we're reapplying for that in May. And we have that $235,000 match from the legislature, so that puts us up on another level when we go for that, because we'll be able to match more than what we could last time. So that's put in here as a preliminary budget in case we were awarded that, but it's not necessarily granted at this time, but that's where that money's going.
And that's a $1.2 million project, correct?
Yes, that particular one, so that would be, there's 2 phases along State Route 503, and the Safe Routes to School, that is a $1.3 million with a $142,000 match. So we just put in the 140 here. Okay, so then the next one we have is CEDC exit 21. So these funds are to be used, we're using the WashDOT dollars right now, which everybody's aware of. And these dollars are to be used for engineering and or construction. So until we have our, the presentation where we've chosen the different options that are available, like the 3 options that they're gonna come to us, the 4 options, we won't be using these funds till later on, but we just wanted to put them in there in a holding place because it wouldn't start till later, the end of the year, of next year. And then also, we put the full amount in there, but we probably won't be spending the full amount. We'll probably carry part of it into the following year, but you just never know what's gonna happen, so you just wanna put it in there, so that's what that's about.
Ms. Coleman, did we use any of the money from the Scott Avenue crossing? Was any of that funding reallocated over for this, or?
Okay, no, so there's 2 different pots of money. There's WashDOT funds and there's CWCOG funds. CWCOG funds were reallocated for this project for exit 21. And the WashDOT funds from the Scott Avenue Reconnect were reallocated to do the study at exit 21, so we didn't have to pay back the $1.2 million that we spent on the WashDOT, because the funds that we originally received from WashDOT, if you didn't go to construction or engineering, you would have had to pay it back. So they reallocated it so we could do a study, so we didn't have to pay it back.
Well, it's very nice that they allowed us to reallocate those funds for a project that they never wanted anyway.
Yeah.
That we ended up spending.
It's nice that we don't have to pay back $1.2 million.
A bunch of taxpayer money on that could be used to maybe address some of our street challenges that we have, so, anyway.
Okay, so then on the next slide, this is the West Scott Avenue. This is going to be from Pacific to Sherman Way. This is the Transportation Improvement Board grant that we received. So we have a match of $251,000 for this project, which is coming out of Fund 353, our TIP, and then the balance is from the grant reimbursement. So when you see this in here, of that, 251 is coming out of our Transportation Improvement funds, and the rest is coming back from the grant reimbursement.
It's another huge project for little money.
Yeah.
I mean, you get as much as you can, but bang for your buck.
I mean, if you looked at the grant process, $3.7 million for 400 adult housing. Or, and we had a total of $10.8 million for 1.5 million. So, I mean, getting those matching dollars are very critical. And the sad thing is that there's so much more money available that we can't even go for. So, and people really do want to help Woodland, but if you can't match but, 3% or 10%, the other guy's gonna get you when they can match 15%, so, anyway. Okay, Public Works Water, so the amount of the request there was 2.3 million, and we're getting the full amount, which isn't a surprise, because we do actually have the funds in water. So there's, I was off on that in my original amount that I requested, and that was because there was an additional 12,000 in salaries, and 13.8 tax on water, and 2,000 on installation of deposit refund. So that's kind of where my numbers were off. And then, as you guys know, we have, we're completing the HVAC electrical project that's up there right now, the filter media replacement we talked about a little bit this morning, or tonight, and then the Sky Hill booster station. And then we have the booster pump for the water treatment plant is going to be line item 413, just so you're aware of that. And there's the amount there of 1.3 million, and then the remaining of the HVAC is line item 414. That's about $500,000 that we have left to pay for next year. Now the sewer. So on that we have $4 million, and $4 million is what we're getting. And this is we're finishing the UV upgrade system, installing the screening project, and then which is in engineering right now. We're paying the retainage on lift station 5 that was done this year, and we're paying for part of that dump truck cost. And, sorry, in the water, we had part of the dump truck cost too, a third of that was in the water. I forgot to put that in there, I apologize. And then also, we have the flow trend sludge making watering container that we're purchasing, and then we're doing some pump replacements for lift station 4. And then we have some other lift station upgrades. So, that's what's going on there. And then, boy, that didn't come out at all. You can see how nice it looks on the printout. I don't know why it isn't up there. But anyway, so in summary, it's not that bad. I mean, we have a lot of projects that we're able to do. It's not perfect by any means, but the biggest hits were obviously in general facilities, the 27,000. Nothing big and fancy, you know. You need new carpet, it's not going to happen. Okay. And then 87,000 in our parks, which you'll notice a difference this year. We'll do our best to make sure that you don't notice it, but you're going to notice that people are going to complain. And then we have the roads, which is at 238,000. So overall, we took a $353,000 cut. So that's it. Trying to make it short, sweet, to the point. You guys have all the numbers there, so kind of telling you what it means.
And I did want to point out that, yeah, there are some cuts in the park, but it's still 6,000 more than last year. The road fund definitely is a cut. But yeah, there are a lot of great things we could do. It's just, you know, there are so many dollars for it.
And I want to share that when I was talking to Pete, and I shared this with the mayor as well, that I would prefer that we take, you know, we have these people that we hire on part-time in the parks. I would much prefer leaving our guy full-time in the parks who knows what he's doing, that keeps up his daily routine, than not having anybody in the parks and having more of a cut where I can't have him there more of the time and bringing in part-time labor. So I asked him to take out that part-time labor so we can take a little bit out of our roads, more out of our roads, to cover that cost for that labor in our parks, to try to keep the parks up, because he has a routine going. And that's, you're gonna get a better bang for your buck, more benefit than having somebody in there 50% of the time, pulling in somebody during, you know, and out of high school or college for a couple months who's gonna just go. So, anyway, that was a decision that I made to try to keep the person in the park more year-round.
Questions for Ms. Coleman? Mr. Fredericks?
Do you have the detailed budget? I've got a question on the park. What is miscellaneous HSN
Oh,
11K?
that's not summer nights. So that's kind of more of an in and out.
Got it.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when we
That
get
explains that.
the dollars that come in for the grants, it just goes out.
Okay, and can you talk to me a little bit about the Horseshoe Lake management and how that's working currently? We budgeted in 2019, 2,500. We're estimated to spend 3,000 this year, and we're requesting 5,000 next year. What does that look like next year? Is that going to be something where we're going to spend the money? Do we have the ability to do it? Where are we at with that?
Yeah, we're actually going to spend the money. What we ran into the years before is we had people from the Horseshoe Lake Management Committee that volunteered their time to take their own boat out and do testing. They also drove the tests down to Longview. We also hired somebody to come pick up the tests at times. So right now, we don't have anybody to do that. So we have our own staff that are taking time out of the day and using their own personal boat to go out and do our testing at Horseshoe Lake. Then we have somebody going out of Public Works and driving it to Longview. We have somebody going down and picking it up. We try to coordinate it with other meetings that we have in Longview, our TAC meetings, but it's going to be spent because I don't know how long I can ask an employee to use their own personal boat to do that. So we're going to have to hire somebody to do it for more than 5,000, but we're going to use that fund as long as we can to be able to pay for that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, what are we getting from that? I mean, so we're testing the lake. What is it for? What are we using it for? So it's great data, but what is it being used for?
To let our citizens know that Horseshoe Lake is safe and clean to swim in.
Okay.
And, you know, we have, now that we're having more events in town for our triathlons, I think it's very critical that we test our lake, because now we have swimmers that are swimming in the lake more so. We have these big events
Yeah, my only concern is that I think you're stretched thin, and,
Totally are stretched.
yeah, and I just wonder how it's gonna continue to be able to happen.
And I'm not sure it can. But you do the best you can with what you have, so.
Right.
But I agree with you.
And then the capital outlay for equipment in the park is showing a 223% increase since 2018. And that sounds like a lot, but it's really going from $3,000 to $7,000. Is there, what capital outlay equipment do you have planned to spend in 2020?
So what we have is, we needed tires. We needed a new chainsaw. I'm trying to think of all the things that we had listed.
So you have the if I asked you and I said, hey, show me the list of what you're gonna buy, you'd have that, you have that.
Absolutely.
Okay, that answers that question. And then, as far as the streets go, is there a project list with estimated costs created? Because we're estimating this, and again, this could be because you have not paid invoices yet that haven't been submitted, or they're still in process, but you're only planning on spending roughly $85,000 this year, and the request is for $130,000 next year. And I'm not saying cut here, but is there a detailed list of, here's how we came up with $130,000?
Absolutely. Well,
Okay.
so there's a detailed list of way more than 130. There's like a
Sure.
detailed list of 200, I think 260 is what it was. But when we had to make the cut, we decided, here's the biggest pot of money that we can cut that from, and then we're gonna have to go in and relook at our numbers from the $260,000 to say, what are we gonna get for 130? So for instance, if we can do, I'll just throw a number out, we can do 1 mile stretch for 230,000, and now I'm getting 130, how much am I gonna be able to do for 130? Which road am I gonna do, because all the road widths are a little different, so we just have to recalculate that. So we're just gonna have to cut out some of the roads in Oakland.
Okay. The streetlights, repairs for streetlights, there was a request for $25,000 in the budget for 2019. I'm showing that if everything pans out, we're going to spend $2,800, leaving basically a difference of $23,000. What was the plan there? Why didn't it get done? And what's the request for $10,000?
So it hasn't hit the budget yet, so there will be a hit to the budget for the 25, we haven't received the billing yet.
So it's, for 2019, it's going to,
It's going to hit, it'll be all spent.
okay.
We also have, so we had some streetlights that were hit, and we had to repair them, and they're over $5,000 a piece when they get hit and run.
Got it.
So one of them hasn't cleared yet, we have another 20,000, 15,000 that's coming through. So there'll be 20,000 that will hit here, I'm hoping by November. And then the other one is, there's a grant that's out there for upgrading your LED lights. So if we have a small match, so I put money in there for that because Cowlitz PUD just changed to LED lighting, which they didn't have before. They just had HPS lighting. So I was going to do part of the program where we could change out all of our lights in town to LED with part of a match fund. But in the interim, since that streetlight budget was cut, now we're just going to have that money in there for next year for if somebody comes and doesn't hit run lights, we will replace our light. Or any lights that are burned out.
And that's not covered through the city's insurance?
I don't know the answer.
I think could be, we should file a claim.
Yeah, well, then you have claim costs too, so.
It's
yeah.
$1,000 bucks.
$1,000 deductible.
Rather pay 1,000 than 5.
Yeah, I don't know, I like that, five's around.
1,000's better.
Yeah, it is. You know what, that's a good point that you brought up. We need to also think about things to street.
Is it worth it?
What that does to
Yeah.
premium.
Right, I don't know, someone will have to do
We'll
that
ask that question.
analytical stuff behind the scenes. but it-
Typically what's done, where I come from, the cities, they don't do a claim for street like this. I mean, it's typically they just replace it.
Okay, when are you?
But something I was gonna tell you I was working on, I've been working on this for 2 years, but anyway, it's in the back of my mind, you have to do a master contract for streetlight repairs, because you can have somebody come do it for a lot cheaper than these one-offs. You can just say, hey, I have a contract with you for 3 to 5 years, and any light that gets hit, you just come out and fix it. But I haven't gotten to that yet.
It's on your top 300.
It's on my top 300, yes, sir.
And are we, on the street cleaning, are we actually doing the street cleaning ourselves? I thought we were doing it ourselves.
No, so we did for a while, We rented a street sweeper.
Okay.
But we weren't able to get the street sweeper because they've been broken down, so then we hired Cowlitz Clean Sweep, and then we hired the county. So
And when
we have 3 different options that we go with whoever's available.
When did those invoices hit? Because they
They
haven't.
haven't hit yet. I actually have, here I have $34,000 worth of invoices right here that have not been paid, and we haven't even been billed for the third quarter yet on my streets.
34,000
$24,000.
on a budget of 21?
Yep.
Okay,
But remember, it's the overall number that
Except
has
my
to come in.
wife. okay.
So we're gonna have a few people that are gonna be off for a little while, laid off for a little bit.
Got it. On the sidewalk project,
I'm just teasing.
on the sidewalk project, you have professional services listed.
Yes.
This looked like it was a one-time expense in 2019, but there's also a 2020 budget. Is this an expense that repeats in 2020?
Yes, so it's not the same thing, it's for something different. So anytime, like for instance, we'll be using that for the grant that we just did. So I'm
Okay.
taking money out of that budget to go for the grant match dollars that we receive for labor.
So can you tell me why there's a separate sidewalks, there's a professional service line for 100, it says in quotations
Yeah,
100,
yeah, so-
and then a sidewalks 100, no money is,
Construction and professional services, you have to
Okay.
separate them out. So your engineering is separate from your
We're
construction.
talking about 100, 200, so we're trying
Oh,
to
yeah,
track
okay.
grant money, so grants for
Okay.
one pot for
That makes
100
sense.
and the other grant.
And I asked them to separate that out because we had to show what we're matching. Because sometimes we use Rob D, and if we could show that his professional services there, we can use it towards grant dollars.
Ms. Coleman, I appreciate your having a master of the facts, being a master of the facts, having it together, I appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you.
I try to make it quick and sweet, to the point, so, okay.
Any other questions for Ms. Coleman? All right, thank you, Ms. Coleman. Next up on the hot seat. Nobody jump at once. Chief, do you want to go?
You want to wait to see what happens tomorrow?
Sure, that's a good idea.
That's why I thought you.
All right.
Mine's pretty short.
You know what? Mrs. Rep.
All right, so I passed out a handout to you that this is my department's budget. We have, again, in our proposed budget, 6.5 FTE. They're listed there on the table. Our overall budget is $745,894. That's an increase of $7,454 or 1%. We had a few lines that went up a little bit and some that decreased. One of the things that we asked for in enhancements that we have not been funded for is the new or update to the website. We have renewed and carried over our request from the 2019 budget for the website and software update. It was partially funded in 2019. I think the number was $2,500. But that soon came to light that is not going to be adequate in order to redo our website. We looked at the things that we're needing, which are including and address the assistive technologies for disabilities such as blindness, low vision, deafness, motor mobility, disabilities, etc. And then also to bring our software up to date to the new, more modern look to the website and make it a true content management system, which would have the ability to deliver and really make the citizen experience and make things easier to find for everybody. It would also include bringing over data off our new websites from not spending hours of staff time doing the work. The amount we requested based off of the proposals we received was $33,050, but again, that is not in the budget, and then there will be ongoing yearly costs. The other thing I asked for was, again, this year, same as in the past, is to add on either another halftime FTE to make my halftime position full-time or full-time clerk full. That cost would be $76,789, and if we added the other halftime FTE, because of salary and lifetime benefits, that would go up to 12 months of 48, a little over 48,000. I just have to continue to bring the message home about succession planning. I looked at the anniversaries of people again this year. We have at least half of our workforce in the next 10 years that is subject to retirement age. And the city of Woodlawn, along with a lot of other cities and counties in the area, are going to see a large influx of people leaving the workforce. And I think the city should be prepared to have a plan for that. Resources, while we've provided a lot of resources in budget every year, we still have, like the other departments, we have a real gap in what we're able to do. One of my main things still is cross-training. We started cross-training and then we saw a shift in personnel into other departments, and some people left the city and went to other jobs and things like that. So we still are really in a dire need to get people cross-trained into our main functions for payroll and utility billing and such. And then my last thing I wanted to talk about was document management. As public record requests still seem to be on the forefront, we have 2 really large rooms that we're still processing right now. We have to manage our time as well as do all of our other daily duties, and we don't have enough staff or a person who is even dedicated to that. So I manage that, and I assign it out to my staff and to other departments the best we can. Respond as best we can, but there's not any dedicated staff for any of that. And then the other thing is we have our document management system, and I'm just rolling that out into getting it going again with our part-time person that's hired. We're looking at the hours that we need to do that training, and again, there was transitioning and of employees, and so that's why that was on stall for a while. So I'm hoping that we can get back on that, but we need to get this document management system implemented citywide, not just, we started with what I call beta testing in the utility department. We had to roll off that for a while and put that on hold, and now we're hoping to get back into that. But that all takes time. If you've never been down to the 100 Davidson, we have a records room up there. We have not destroyed records in 3 years because of staffing, and we need to get on that. We also have a room under the stairs that has records back into probably the 40s and the 50s, something that we inherited, but have not haven't even touched yet. And then there's a whole room of fire department records that we also inherited that we're going to have to touch every single record in there and look and see what the destruction and the retention is on any of those records, and we haven't been able to even touch those.
How many boxes are in that fire room, would you say?
There are at least
I didn't know that.
7 or 8 tall legal file cabinets, and then additional boxes of records as well.
And how much is under the stairs? Or the elevator shaft?
Yeah, there's, not under the elevator, but under the actual stairs.
Okay.
Crouch down and get in there.
Okay.
Go back in the deep, dark.
How much do you think is back there?
There are probably 10 to 12 banker boxes.
Okay. I'm just gonna ask, just for councils, because I know that you and I have talked about this before.
Yes.
What's your estimate of time that it would take to go through those, put in for destruction, and properly file the ones that we're keeping? How long of a project is that?
I think that's one full-time person for at least 1 year.
Thank you. Questions for Mrs. Rep?
She done?
Oh, I did have one other thing.
Sorry.
Our audit costs,
I thought she was.
for this year, we will not be making this hike on the budget as we requested, because we didn't have a 2-year audit, we had a 1-year audit, so there was some savings there. But on the sad note, on the bad note, the auditor's office is requesting a 13% increase on their costs. And so we've added that on to the 2020 budget.
Why did they walk down the hall and ask the legislature to pay for it?
Yes. And then
And then our office
My
note.
final thing
It's
is
easier to give it to us, yeah.
we have election costs in 2019, but depending on when the county bills us, that could carry over to next year. So while it's low in the 2020 budget, we could have to do it.
Miss Rip, why don't we see if the other cities will join us in sending a letter to the state auditor, letting them know that we're not going to pay their increase? And just see how that goes. Could be a fun exercise.
Yeah, you know what?
Participate in audit finding.
And, I was gonna say, and probably something
Sure.
really bad.
Which
Yes.
costs way more than
Yeah.
that.
But I would like to send a letter to the county as well and request our funds back again.
So there's additional information that is more detailed if you want to read.
Questions for Mrs. Rip?
Others to jump in.
Mr. Fredericks?
On the legislative salaries, Ms. Rip, I've noticed that that we're estimated to spend roughly 21,000, almost 22. The budget for 2019 is 30,000, and we're requesting 30,000 again, which is, in my mind, about $8,000 too much. Can you tell me how we figured out that number? Because none of us are getting any raises, and I believe you are, if I'm not mistaken, this presumes 100% everyone's going to every meeting. This is worst case scenario, is that right?
So we budget for the amount of council members, the amount of regular meetings, and then we add in a special, or a certain amount of workshops, and then the budget workshops.
Okay. It does presume a worst case scenario. All I'm saying is there could be like $5,000 there to be used for something else. Maybe the parks or putting it back into the savings account. It's an option.
If it is unspent,
It does, right. Well, we do. We put money in and take it back out. So it's like, oh, hey, I'm gonna do really good this month. I'm gonna put $100 in savings, and then the next day I take $100 out. That's how we do it. On the general government agencies page, why do we have janitorial budgeted for from a janitorial services if we don't have a contract in place?
We have carpets and stuff, we don't have carpets.
And that's where you put that?
So we call facilities.
Got it. Is there something wrong? Are we not coding cleaning supplies correctly? Because I show that we've spent.
I asked for review of that and to go back and get some of those corrected.
Okay. That's all I have for your page. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mrs. Rip? Thank you, Mrs. Rip. Appreciate that. What time is it? Where are we? We're at 9:26. Mr. Goddard, you think you can roll it up? All right, let's do it.
Get out of here by 9:30.
9, you have 4 minutes, go. There's a pecan pie at home waiting with my name on it. I know, I'm a lucky boy.
So the community development has cost of living adjustments for the employees, 3.5 employees. And the largest increase in our budget, which we're increasing 27,000, is because we had the associate planner who was hired last year. She was not part of the original budget. She was added in the first quarter. And so she will be, instead of a 0.9 or 9 months, she will be a 12-month employee this year. So that's what represents the largest portion of our increase. We had one request for enhancement for additional hours for code enforcement, but that didn't make the cut. And so no enhancements this year. And next slide. So these are basically just our individual numbers. The one thing I needed to point out is our code enforcement, not a lot of change. Next one for planning is, you'll see at the bottom, the net change is minus 42,000. That's because we're changing where our money comes from. A lot of the planner expenses for Melissa and I, we actually do support work for the building side of the house, and there's a lot more revenue on the building side of the house. So we're just making a minor correction. So if you look at the next page, you'll see that the building expenses are going up 67,000. That's because we'll actually be coding our time correctly and it'll be coming out of the right amount. So we're not actually increasing 67,000, we're just correcting some account years. And that's it, unless you have any questions.
That was a minute and a half. Mr. Fredericks.
Unless
Oh, I'm
there's
sorry.
others.
Is there anyone else? Mr. Fredericks.
Mr. Goddard, is your department paying for itself yet?
We are not.
Okay, is it close?
We know that other jurisdictions are having the same problem with their planning department. For example, Clark County is experiencing a significant general fund shortage, and they are requiring that their planning section be weaned off of their general fund. So I know that they're exploring increasing their fees, in some cases up to a 300% increase is what the rumor on the street is. So.
What?
I would
Well, we
like-
could always go to 200 and we just wouldn't be as bad.
I would like to point out that we are seeing a lot of additional interest in development here because A, we're easy to work with, we have good, smart staff, and we're cheap. And so as we get more and more cheap, I worry that we get more and more taken advantage of.
Oh, storage facilities.
As our previous conversation, yes. So if you buy property cheaper here and you don't have to pay the development costs that you do there, you get high revenue, low cost, low employment businesses that might take advantage of us.
So the fee resolution has been routed through all the departments, which we're currently undergoing recommendations to bring to the finance committee, so they should see that soon.
On the code enforcement side, or do we have any, if you were to have a list, are there any lists out there that are being kept or maintained that are tracking items that if the council had any abatement money set aside, what that would go for? Do we have anything that's tracking that, or is it like, oh, yep, that's an issue, but we don't have anything budgeted for it, so we're just going to move on? I would think, how many, are we keeping track of?
We could start developing something like that. I think it's more in our code enforcement officer's head than it is on any formal list. But if you would like a list of what we would spend money for if we started doing that, I think that's better.
Well, I don't know. Ms. Coleman spends a lot of time and energy making sure that our city looks good, and it would be nice to at least understand what that looks like and what we're saying no to every year, even though we would technically have to pull it out of savings to fund that. And I know that there's a way to recoup that when a property gets sold through a lien. There are ways to do it. It is cumbersome, but I don't even think we know, and I think it would be important to have that information. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one. It could very well be the only one. Probably the only one. I would.
I think we've
Is it possible you're the only one?
We've collected
Don't check
liens on
that.
2 properties, I think.
Say that again, Ms. Ripp.
We collected monies, liens that we filed for abatement.
But that had been years ago.
In the last 4 years. No, actually, it was really recent.
Okay.
We sold the property and
And to pay the
then the
money.
money.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Goddard? And I would say that Mr. Goddard is paying for himself. The department's paying for itself. We've got an increase in property tax with developed property. We have some new businesses that are in town that have created some jobs, which is good. So although it may not be monetary in the pockets of the city, I think that the department's paying for itself. And with the, I'm not done yet.
Aren't you just a ray of sunshine?
Yes, and I'm not done yet. And I think that with the upcoming discussions with the planning commission and the changes with our code and making sure that we're up to date, I think that it's important that we recognize all the work that's being done in this
And
department
our
as
fee
well.
schedule contains a lot of cost recovery and so we looked at it more down there.
Mr. Goddard, please do not take my comments of, are you paying for yourself yet, as a shot. I appreciate the work that your department does.
I'm a big believer that
Well, you could
invest
afford-
in things that pay you back.
Right, that's why I was asking. I am too. I like a little return on the investment. I think it makes a lot of sense.
I got a question real quick. Talking about
Yes.
return of investments and whatnot. Last year, we raised taxes in order to put money away into our emergency fund. How much is in there now? And can any of that be diverted to help pay for public works or the police department or anybody that's having some of these shortfalls? Because I would think not being able to repair playground equipment that children will be playing on could constitute as an emergency. So where are we at with that?
So I was anticipating this question. So the public utility tax that increased last year generated about $334,000. We've had the gambling tax decrease, in 2018, we brought in $107,000, 2019, $19,000, so there was a deficit there. We anticipated we would get around $98,000 this current year. We also have new expenditures. The associate planner, that's about $88,000 a year, so that comes off that $334,000. Police salaries and benefits, we're anticipating increase next year to $173,000. Insurance, we have an increase of about $48,000 this year. $30,000 of that is due to wastewater treatment plant liability insurance in case there are spillages into the river. I believe that's once every 5-year hit. And the fire contract, we've requested a reduction in the fee, but it's still another $84,000. You total those four items up, that's $393,000. We generated $334,000 in revenue, and that's not taking off the decrease in gambling tax that we anticipated receiving in 2019. So the money's going to the general fund. When we discussed it last time, I went back and listened to the meeting. We talked about the associate planner position. There was concern making sure the projects are moving through the community development department and we get these businesses up and running and generating tax revenue and jobs. So it's, we're holding steady. So the fund balance I have increasing by $97,000 throughout the year. I graphed out the gambling tax, and it's, a horrible looking graph that, at its peak, we received $278,000 in 1 year. 232, 278, 247. 2017 it went down to 160. 2018, 107. In 2019, we're sitting at 20,000 right now. In 2020, we'll be zero. You couple that with the 1% property tax increase annually, and it's a tough road. And when we're talking about decreases in public works budgets and whatnot, and actually a number of requests across the board were not funded because of that. So we're attempting to live within our means. Over the course of this 2020 budget, if it remains unchanged, we should be increasing fund balance overall between the general fund, Fund 301, the general reserve fund, park, and street. Overall, that fund balance should be increasing by about $97,000 throughout the year. So we're trying to live within our means, but literally the public utility tax has gone to replace lost revenue and some increased expenditures that are happening.
So in essence, what I'm hearing is, it seems to me, doing my analysis this afternoon of this budget, we're on an unsustainable path here. our expenditures, again, are going higher than our revenues are. And so we got a lot of keyboard warriors at home that aren't here because they put us all here. And we're here doing the best that we can. And it would be nice to have involvement in this process with the folks that believe our pockets are deep and we're wasting money, and we don't have $1,500 toilet seats, that the federal government has. We're not in that. This is your local government. Just police and fire alone has increased $400,000 since 2018. In 1 year, we've had a $400,000 from 2018 to 2020. The request is $400,000 more. It's unsustainable. It's at some point we're going to have the conversation of what is government's purpose and what are we going to shave, because everything's good now, but when we have a downturn, it's not going to be a good time, because we're gonna have to figure.
Yes, we are at that point, and City Council has been proactive. I mean, we took care of the public utility tax last year. We sent items to the ballot. The levy lid lift is pending for the police. We did that last year. We've done the Transportation Benefit District twice, but they haven't been funded. So, we're hoping for a positive outcome on the police levy lid lift. But
and the police levy lid lift, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Boyce, requires 60% voter approval and 40% voter turnout. And I checked voter turnout the other day; it was at 12%.
Right.
So it seems to me that there's not a.
There needs to be a lot of turnout in the next few hours.
I wish I was more enthusiastic that it was going to happen, but I don't think you're going to get to 40%. And I think, given that we were over 17 votes the last time, it's going to require a heck of a lot more than that. So I'm not optimistic that that's going to happen. And it's very concerning. We have road issues that are a huge issue for our city, have been. I remember, who was the previous Public Works Director? Mr. Stepp, who indicated that we would have to put so much money aside, $500,000 for the next 10 years. Is that number? We wouldn't even get done with what we have to get done. And so this is a city that, unfortunately, we're not flush with cash, and we're not flush with. I first got on the council, I thought, man, I'm going to find all the waste. I know it's there. And I found reallocation of money, but it wasn't waste. We just reallocated those resources. And so I've gone through this. I encourage anyone to pick up a copy of the budget. It's online. Go through it and tell us the error of our ways. But I'm struggling. I'm struggling finding anything to cut that our citizens will notice if you cut. They'll notice if we cut a clerk. They'll notice if we cut the parks. They'll notice if we cut law enforcement. That's where we're at. And I wish I had all the answers, but I don't. And it's I'm very concerned for the future of our city.
Well, you're correct in that we have to talk about what services we're going to prioritize in front. That's just where we are. We've made as many cuts as we can without affecting service. But this year, we warned about it last year that we would see some effect in the parks. Streets been running lean. And this year, it's hitting the street fund also. So.
And I've heard some discussion that Be Young RV is going to be the savior for the city from a tax revenue standpoint. It's not. So it's going to provide a little bit of help, but I think we're talking probably less than $100,000 a year. I don't think we're talking all that much, especially the first year. I just don't see that as our saving grace. That's very concerning. I'm more worried about the downturn in the economy, because it will happen. It's the cycle that we all go through in our economy, where there's good, there's bad. But when we get to a bad point, it's going to be vicious, because every department is going to be fighting for whatever we got in the general fund to pay for service. And it's just not, I feel like it's something that I look back at the time that I've been on council as almost like a failure. Like I have failed in my 1 out of 7 to put the city on a more of a financial, more of a stable ground. Every year we're doing this. And I love it too, is you'll read, and I shouldn't do this, I should not go and read online the amount of crap that people are under the impression of, you know, if the city would just go get grants, that would save our day. Well, yeah, it would, but do you have any matching funds to go along for those grants? No. And it's very frustrating that, yeah, and I think we've done a good job of getting available grant money. That's been a major focus of the administration in going out and getting those and staff working on those. But we don't have matching funds, so that makes it almost a moot point. You know, we can't go after things, and it's very disheartening. You know, and hey, you know, even if we wanted to say, okay, maybe the answer is we're just going to increase taxes. Oh, okay, with what? You can't. We're done. I mean, I think you've got a little bit left in your public utility tax, but that's it. You have no other resources that you can go with. It's what we're doing right now. It's the police and fund police. That's a levy lid lift. Is that what it's called? Mm-hmm. It requires supermajority. It requires certain voter turnout. It's tough. It's tough to get done and get through. I don't know. I wish I was more of a glass is half full and we're all going to be great. Sunshine, lollipops, unicorns, and rainbows, but I'm a realist. And I worry about Woodland in 2025. That's where my mind is at. It's not 2020, it's 2025, 2027, and am I handing the baton off when another council member takes my seat to be able to say, hey, make sure you leave this place better than you found it. And I feel like from a budgeting standpoint and putting the city on a firmer ground, I feel like I've failed there. And I wish there was more that we could do. It's very frustrating.
Well, you know, I'd like to put a little rosier perspective on it.
Well, I appreciate that.
The city is living within its means.
Yeah.
We're not advancing fund balances as much as we would like, but they are increasing. It's just, we've enjoyed a certain level of service over the years that, you know, the citizens deserve, and they actually deserve more than we're providing. But we're at that point now where we have to decide what services can we afford and what's most important to the community. So, you know, budgets are all about prioritizing what resources you have, and there will be some tough conversations. You know, as we heard tonight, there are a number of things that make perfect sense that would enhance the community, enhance the quality of life, and maintain our roads and infrastructure. But, you know, we have to live within the dollars we have. So, you know, the solution to this whole thing, like you say, there aren't very many options as far as funding goes. City Council has tried several times with ballot measures that have been denied. And, you know, that's a message from the citizenry that, you know, it's not that they don't want these things, they just feel like they can't afford something.
Right. Absolutely.
At least that's my interpretation. So, you know, we need to readjust services, and yes, people will notice, and people will not be happy with that, but, you know, it's a responsible thing to do. We have lived within our means. It's just in order to keep doing that, we have to adjust the services.
And I guess I would challenge I think we are living within our means. However, we are spending anything that we would have put normally into the rainy day account to have an effect on if we had a downturn. And we're not doing that. We're taking everything that we put in for that and we're spending it to keep the lights on.
Well, if we follow the budget as the preliminary budget is set out, we should increase fund balance by, around 7,000 in that area.
Which doesn't take into account the new businesses that are opening up next year.
No, so, we didn't estimate additional sales tax for the young RV. We have no idea what that could be or what it will be. So we do try to take a conservative approach when we're looking at revenues. So, there could be some additional revenue that comes in that shows up in fund balance. If that does happen, I'd say let's leave it in fund balance. It's not appropriated elsewhere. So there could be some additional revenues coming in. We just don't know what that impact would be, and it's not really we can count on at this time.
And also our state auditor last year had recommended an increase in fund balances. That was part of it.
Well, I think some of the cuts that we will be talking about in future years will maybe spur a little bit of excitement in city government like that's going on in Kalama. And their voter turnout is through the roof. They're involved, they're engaged because they had their city council do something that they didn't like.
Yep.
And I think that's where we're going to get is that we're going to end up having whoever's sitting in these seats are going to have to make some tough decisions, and perhaps that'll spur some excitement in local government, because right now it's every board and commission we have, we can't find people who are willing to step up. It's very disheartening, but I appreciate your rosier outlook on it than I have. We're all gonna die and the glass is half full, and I'm a realist. Great question, Mr. Plaza.
You guys are a good time tonight.
I want to point out that was not on my time.
Yes, no. Carol's like, really, Frederick?
Wow. Well, never mind. I was feeling pretty good about life up until that. Thank you, guys. Anything else for the good of the order this evening, or any further questions for staff?
Yeah.
I will answer the question, though, that was posed, which is, what is government's role? Government's role, first and foremost, is public safety and then infrastructure. So I realize that there is a lot of money that is going towards public safety. I, for one, appreciate it and welcome that, because I know that as a citizen who lives in this community with all of you, I know that we're being taken care of, and I can sleep well at night because of that.
Forgot about the other purpose, unfunded mandates.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
And top of the list, unfunded mandates.
The state auditors, I'd like to be able to take that $23,000 and allocate that to my park department, where the citizens would see more value in that. Anyway.
We've come to
Now that we're totally depressed, can we
out of workshop and back into regular session. It is 9:52. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That's that.
Glad others didn't have questions. We could have been here for a while.
Next year.
But you know, Ben, we have this conversation every year at West Side, and every year.
So we got a meeting next Tuesday?
What's that?
I know what you're saying.
They've decided we're going to have a meeting at 12 tonight.
Meeting on the 12th?
And what did we have?
We have one department.
We can keep the doors open one more year.